I have to say, I was very pleasantly surprised with the amount of depth and world building to be found in Mario and Luigi Brothership. Sure, it's not like we know the entire history of Concordia or anything, but everything introduced was well thought out and connected together like landmasses behind a ship-shaped island. We got a completely new world to explore, new enigmatic villains to fight, and surprising heroes, all topped off with some neat little references to past games. Today, I want to cover exactly those 4 subjects, as we dive into the nitty-gritty of Brothership and uncover some things the games don't exactly spell out for you. Let's start with the world itself, Concordia. One question that immediately came up for me before I had even touched a button is, what is this world? At the start of the game, we see Mario, Luigi, Peach, Bowser and their affiliates enter the world of Concordia through these portals in the sky, which we later learn is the doing of the Great Conductor. Although it seems to be the case that everyone who isn't a Mario brother ending up in Concordia was not planned. This does make it abundantly clear that this is not a location in the Mushroom Kingdom, or even the larger Mario planet for that matter. Instead, Concordia is described as a parallel world on the Japanese website of Brothership, but I don't think this term is ever used in-game. I don't remember coming across it at least. But in light of that wording, I think it's safe to say Concordia is meant to be taken as something like the Sprixie Kingdom from Super Mario 3D World, which too was a sort of parallel world that resembled the Mushroom Kingdom in some aspects, but was only accessible by ways of clear pipes, which then take on the same function as these portals. That said, the Sprixie Kingdom at least had things we're familiar with from the Mushroom Kingdom to be found in it, like native Goombas for example. Brothership makes abundantly clear that every past Mario enemy we find in this game is not natively from Concordia. In fact, it goes to lengths we have never seen before to make that happen. Not only are they distinctly made their own category of enemy, as Bowser's minions, they also appear in huge numbers in the credits, all looking to return to their own world. The sole exception are the piranha plants, which presumably can't walk, although Smash Bros. Ultimate feels differently about that, and thus are not shown returning to the Mushroom Kingdom at all. However, since they count as Bowser's minions for the sake of the battle plug and achievements, it is safe to say they were not native to Concordia, even if they may be left behind as a parting gift from the royal family of Bowser's Kingdom. Then again, Bowser makes it very clear not to leave a soldier behind during the credits, as seen with the tripping Goomba, so perhaps he's figured out a way to retrieve his piranha plants as well. Another question mark in this whole thing is Yoshi. A member of the species only appears popping out of an egg when using the Hatch Me If You Can Bros attack, and then runs off, before presumably returning to the egg as we know Yoshis can do. The egg necessary for Mario to pull this maneuver is gifted to him by Tech Nicky and was found washed up on Merry-Go Island, suggesting it too originates from the Mushroom Kingdom and was sucked up at the start of the game. It is however uncertain whether this Yoshi, or perhaps even multiple Yoshis, return to the Mushroom Kingdom as well, as they aren't seen at the end. Then again, it could be assumed that Mario is carrying the egg along as he did all game. One thing is for certain though, I have already given this more thought than Nintendo ever did. But speaking of the Concordia we eventually end the game with, did you realize that we actually put it back together differently from how it was before? Thanks to that image of the Unitree that keeps popping up at the start of the game, we know Concordia is laid out in a circle around the Unitree, which by the end of the game is located at Ship Shape Island. So far, no changes, and the individual islands we visit during the game also appear to generally be in the same spot. We can see the jungle-based islands to the south of the region in both the initial picture and the ending shot for example, same with the arid regions to the east, right next to the snowy islands. However, when you take a closer look at the colors of the 4 great lighthouses, you can see those are actually in different positions during the credits compared to the start of the game. In the pre-shattering Concordia, it is very clearly visible that the yellow Great Lighthouse, which later gets a huge wall around it, is found in the arid region to the east, while the green lighthouse is to the west, around the jungles. In the back, we can see the red lighthouse of Burning Sea, located around the snowy habitat, while the blue one is around what I think is supposed to be Offendon Island. Now, let's take a look at a similar image from the ending. It's basically impossible to spot when the scene is actually going past, but when we freeze this image, we can clearly see the blue Great Lighthouse is now located in the arid region to the east, and has switched positions with the yellow one. The green and red lighthouses do appear to be placed back in the correct position, but I guess the Concordians of say Rumbla Island will have to get used to a new lighthouse around their home. And while we're on the ending of Brothership, let's zoom in on Reclusa for a moment. He's not only the first final boss in Mario and Luigi history to not be a form of Bowser, he is also one of the most malevolent beings we have ever seen in the Mario series. Yes, if you're wondering, it is confirmed Reclusa is male. Shun refers to Reclusa as he when he explains his backstory, and in Japanese, Reclusa refers to himself as Bokushin, which is usually reserved for young boys. While the latter highlights even further how the childish nature of Reclusa is very much woven into the character, that backstory Shun mentions is the only thing we know regarding the origins of Reclusa. If Shun is to be believed, Reclusa is an ancient entity, around for longer than anything else we see in the game. He is also not the source of Gloam, which is apparently a naturally existing substance in every living being, but he is capable of turning that Gloam into a form of energy that corrupts its host. Interestingly enough, that is something Zocket can do as well, although how exactly this masked figure works is not entirely clear. We find out it's actually a corrupted Cosette, as I'm sure you know, but the exact details on how she is being controlled and is capable of controlling Gloam herself are not certain. What is however very noteworthy is that there is a clear difference in what Zocket and Reclusa can do with Gloam. Zocket is capable of turning an infected bro to his side during the boss battle, while Reclusa's Gloam freezes the bro instead. While at first sight, Zocket's effect actually seems stronger, the fact of the matter is that it doesn't suit Reclusa at all. He's all about solitude and the destroying of bonds, so why would he want a bro to fight at his side? He prefers destroying the bond the brothers have, as opposed to changing it like Zocket does, who essentially builds a temporary bond during its battle. It also highlights how differently Zocket and Reclusa try to achieve the same goal. While Zocket is in charge, and Reclusa is still an egg, Gloam has the effect of creating hate and negative feelings among those inflicted. People with strong bonds suddenly switch to becoming overly negative, creating isolation and breaking bonds through the means of hate. This is further reflected in the boss fight, with Zocket doing the same with the brothers and having them attack one another. But as soon as Reclusa takes over, this completely disappears. Instead, he captures folks in those messed up flowers, completely taking over their brain by putting them in some fantasy world. This is isolation and breaking bonds through the means of disconnection, removing oneself from the world entirely. It's also exactly this that he does to a Gloam-affected brother. He freezes them, or rather turns them to stone like the Medusa he's named after, and disconnects them from the world entirely. Another interesting detail about Reclusa that originates from that aforementioned backstory provided by Shun is that he mentions Reclusa has done this to other worlds, which might explain why the entire planet of Concordia appears to be just one relatively small continent and a lot of sea. It could, however, also simply refer to literally other worlds, as is hinted at when Reclusa threatens to pay the Mushroom Kingdom a visit as well. He eventually never ends up doing this, even though it appears for a moment that he does, but even this suggestion alone seems to point towards him also having the power to travel between these portals we only see the Great Conductor make. But fortunately, our heroes step up before it ever gets to that point. And while Brothership does a great job of introducing a larger cast of characters, helping Mario and Luigi on their journey, there is one unsung hero that is quite easy to miss: Patriarch, the father of Ark. Before the events of the game, both father and son were captured by Snaptors and taken to a great lighthouse. However, Patriarch freed his son and threw him into the sea, which eventually led to Ark joining the crew on Shipshape Island. In the meantime, Patriarch moved from Great Lighthouse to Lighthouse, spying on the Extension Core and Zocket, uncovering a ton of information and essentially being one step ahead of the bros at every single turn. You reach a Great Lighthouse? Patriarch has already been there and left behind a note on what he has seen. While he does underline in his notes he is not the hero and as such doesn't intervene, he does collect and uncover vital information, including the existence of Reclusa's egg long before Mario and Luigi actually see it. It's also implied in his final note that he may have uncovered the truth behind Zocket's identity, as it ends with, "Who is that? No, it can't be," written while spying on the masked villain. Keep in mind, it is the Great Conductor, the literal god of the land, who eventually ends up disclosing this information, meaning that at the time, the only two people who knew Cosette was behind that mask were Patriarch and the all-knowing creature. While Patriarch's fate following this final note is unknown, it is shown in the credits that he reunited with his son. Being the most underrated hero of Brothership, gets a deserved happy ending. And finally, I want to quickly highlight 2 neat little references concerning Bowser that you may have entirely missed. First, there is the easy to miss optional side quest How's Bowser's Health, which is basically just a large reference to Bowser's inside story. Not only does Bowser use the familiar name Chippy for Starlo, just like he did in that game, Starlo also brought him his favorite food, spicy chicken, which is a reference to Big Bad Bowser's Brain Train, the quiz run by a Nutso-Globin. One of the possible questions here was which one of Fawful's dishes Bowser prefers, with the answer being his spicy chicken. Yeah, this is a deep cut for sure, but at least everyone could unearth this, if you have played both games. That doesn't apply to the little number gag included in Brothership when visiting Offended Island. So maybe you remember that Mario and Luigi are wanted on this island, with the reward being an oddly specific number of 98,303,150 coins. In Japanese, the sounds of all numbers correspond to syllables, which can be used to spell out phrases. This is known as Goro Awase and is a popular form of wordplay in Japan. As you can probably see coming from a mile away, this reward money number translates to a phrase, being Koopa Sama Saiko, which when said out loud translates to Bowser's the best. Yeah, no way you were getting that without some deeper knowledge about the Japanese cultural language, but fortunately you have me. And that's about it. What are your thoughts on the lore and world building of Brothership? And what are your theories on Concordia and Reclusa? Share them in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel to stay updated on all my future Mario content coming up. For now, thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.